beautiful before and after, where the before, she's got an old brow tattoo that I covered up very lightly. But how do you keep the color on all day? Using the dip brow pomade is how you're going to do that. And the unevenness, you could clearly see one side is a little different than the other. So I'm going to show you how to correct that as well. So stick around and I'll show you how to do that. Hey everybody, it's Jasmine, your brow expert. Thank you so much for joining me. So today's brow model, she has an old brow tattoo that actually faded really nicely, but she does have an uneven brow, one side being very different than the other. So this is something that I know that we all struggle with. So that'll always be. I will always do thin eyebrows to make them fuller. I will always try to show you how to make uneven eyebrows to be a little bit more even. And this is also to just warm up her eyebrows. So if you're her hair coloring, or if you just have a couple of those problems that you want to address, this is definitely going to be your brow video. I've been shaping eyebrows for over 25 years. I am blessed to still be at the Anastasia Beverly Hills salon. So definitely come by and see me and get your best brow. So without further ado, let's get to the model. So not only is her eyebrows uneven, it's also much thinner one side compared to the other. And the one I'm going to show you right now, clearly right here, it not only is thinner, but it has like a lower dip. And part of it is, if you can really look at the model, her the lines on her skin bends a little bit more than the other side. I point that out because most of us have that. And as we age, one side of the brow bone and the face structure will start slowly changing, and obviously your brows will move accordingly. So you saw right there, I'm using two dip brow pomades. One's a little bit warmer, the other one's a little bit ashier. If this is you and you want to start learning how to use a pomade because it lasts all day, the soft brown is a tiny bit warmer and the taupe is a little ashier. If you blend the two, because I think the taupe is too ashy, the soft brown is a little too warm, so I blend those two colors together. If you're my coloring and your tattoo has turned very gray or blue, definitely use like an ebony, mix it with an ash brown. But this is really for those of you that have this hair color. Okay, so mix a tiny bit, grab a little bit. So all you need, and I'm getting even less than a pea size off the dip brow. Now keep in mind the dip brow, and I've done plenty of other videos with this, is hydrating oil is the best. Hydrating oil from Anastasia Beverly Hills is the best oil because it doesn't stay oily. It dries to a matte, but you can really just kind of blend a couple of drops and it'll loosen that up. I use a tissue almost always, so that way you get the excess off the brush. And you keep the brush sharp. As you can see right here, the sharper the brow brush, the sharper the lines will be. Because I'm going to do a little bit of hair strokes. I'm not going to go over her eyebrows in a solid way. Although you can do that as long as you use a tiny bit of the dip brow. Treat it like a powder, if you will. But in this case, we're just going to do these little strokes. I am getting a little fancy on you guys, but I know you can do it. I know you can try it if you practice enough. So, and again, I like to use my hand because the hand will warm up the product just in case you feel like, you know, I don't have an oil or I can't loosen it up that much. Just grab as much as you can and use your hand back and forth just to warm it up. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to do this side first. This side's obviously much nicer. And, you know, it's just about going around the eyebrows, because you still need some color over the side of the eyebrow. But it's really just about getting a little bit of the color. And you notice that I start always in the middle. I do it tiny bit in the front, but this is not going back and forth with the brush. It's really just going in an angle. And I always say angle. I don't say straight up and down because I don't like the brows to be straight up. But you're just going over your favorite eyebrow. We all have a favorite eyebrow, right? This one is her favorite eyebrow. So you're just going over, and, you know, just by putting product over your eyebrows expands them, meaning it makes them fuller. So by just going, like, imagine that you have your old brow tattoo. Again, if you don't have a brow tattoo, this also applies. Put a little bit of powder on first, and then you're just going in an angle. See how I'm going in an angle? That's all I'm doing. And then it just gives these little hair strokes, but it expands the eyebrows and it just looks more polished. Okay, here's the unevenness right here. Underneath, she also has it where it's a little thin, but I'm just going a little bit. And up in the front, these little stroke lines. The reason why I do, and I'm going to show you on myself in just a second, but the reason why I do that right over here, that straight line underneath, and then I'm going in an angle. I'm using that straight line underneath as my base. And so I'm just doing these little angle strokes using that base. That's something that I want you to practice on. And don't worry so much about the top being so perfect, because remember, this side has that dip at the top. Just get the color on there. Now, it's really important, right, that you see that underneath. That's how different it is. And obviously, the before brow, I cleaned it up a little bit. But do that little line underneath first, right over here. And then use that to do these little hair strokes. So you're going back and back to that original line and doing these little lines in an angle. I find the dip brow pomade with the brush is a lot easier to work with because it doesn't dry up that quick. So it allows you to work with it, right? So back and forth in an angle. You don't have to do it slow. You can, but you can just do these little quick strokes. Okay, so the highlighter, always important, always will be. But in this case, it's, look at this, just the highlighter with the brush 18. Smoothing it out makes the brows really come to life, right? It just pops. And that's something that you can also do in the beginning, middle, and then towards the end. You don't have to, there's not a rule with the highlighter, but sometimes you could just put the dip brow on first, especially if you have that tattoo, you already have that guide. But for those of you that does not have that, you can put the highlighter on first to also add as like a light guide. I'm not going to blend mine in too much, so that way you can see, right over here. You can also see the progress. That's why I'm glad that I'm able to put the before down below. Okay, so, and I'm just going to leave this right here. But at the top, remember that dip, keep doing this and go up higher, higher, higher in that dip area. Okay, so the hair. She's actually got a little bit more hair than it looked. I'm using the tinted brow gel. We also have a volumizing brow gel that's tinted. Anything that's tinted, this is caramel, and it just warmed up her brows. She wanted her eyebrows to be warmer because of that tattoo. I told her actually it faded really nicely, so she's one of the lucky ones. But the caramel gel, if you have this hair coloring, will warm up the hair and it looks more natural. So just a tiny bit over your hair. It's just like putting mascara on, right? Except it's on your eyebrows. But don't treat it like a mascara because, you know, on our eyelashes, we put a ton on, right? I do. You just don't want to put a ton on your eyebrows. And if you accidentally did that, just grab a clean spoolie brush and go over it. So I don't know if you can tell my brows, but you know, the most important thing is that you could tell on her. On this model, which is why I love that I'm able to show you all different types of models. So I hope this tip helped. Definitely let me know if it did. Let me know if you do use the pomade. I really like this product. It's an oldie but goodie. We've had this for a long time. Anastasia, Beverly Hills, that is. And the reason why I like the pomades is that it gives you time to work with it. You don't need much. A little goes a long way. Yes, it can dry up in the pod inside the cap, inside the product. I mean, cap. But I always try to make sure that as soon as I get out the product, I close the lid so that way the air doesn't get in that quickly. But always have a hydrating oil by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I mean, this is not just for the dip brow. It's mainly for dryness. I like to put it on my cuticles, on my face. A little drop, like maybe 1 or 2 drops inside the dip brow will loosen that product out. And the best part is that it doesn't leave it greasy or oily. So that's why I love this hydrating oil. And so, yeah, just take care of your pomade, close the lid, and I promise you it should last you quite some time. But anyway, that's why I love the pomade, because you have time to work with it. You can, you know, just grab a little bit because you could treat it like powder as well. You don't have to do these fancy hair strokes. You can just treat it like powder and just, you know, put it over your eyebrows. Always start at the middle to the end first, and then work your way towards the front. Because the first time you touch your eyebrows with the pomade especially, it gets really dark. It can. So that's why you want to just work around it and work towards the front once you get the product on there. And thank you so much for joining me. I promise I'll put everything in the descriptions, my makeup, all the products I use on the model. I do tag them as well in case you want to quickly purchase them, because that helps me, but not every color is perfectly on the tag, which is why these descriptions are on there. It's in the descriptions. And I'll see you next week.